You're listening to the Bear Down Chicago podcast with Logan Bradley, Ryan Dangle, Patrick Sheldon, Brendan Shagrew, and Jack Wright. The Bear Down Chicago podcast. Yeah, we're that Bears podcast.
All right, folks, welcome into another edition of the Bear Down Chicago podcast. I am your host, Ryan Dangle. Now, if you want to find me on Twitter, it's at Ryan Dangle. That's Dengel. I am joined by the one, the only, Jack Wright. If you want to find Jack on Twitter, you can hit him at Bear Down Jack, just like it sounds. All right, so Jack, to say that we are... That is the second time I have done that.
I love that I always...
every time. Now you get an applause. You get an applause every time you go. There's a little loop button, but peeling back the curtain. Dangle is still learning how to drive this whole thing. So there's a loop button, and I didn't hit the loop button. So please forgive me. Okay. All right. Let's reel it back. Let's pretend like we're starting again. We got an awesome guest. A friend of ours who just is football. He won't say this, but I'll say it. Football genius. Crazy, crazy, crazy smart dude. How excited are you?
I'm very excited. I mean, we are in the doldrums, as you know, everybody talks about in sports radio, in this like vast wasteland of in between sports. If you love baseball, it's starting to heat up, but it's not here yet. And I know that there's the USFL, and I know that there's the XFL, and those are okay, but there's nothing better than talking about Bears football, NFL football, and especially with people who know about it. And then also we don't have to talk about all the ridiculousness that's been going on in the last 2 weeks. I'm tired of it, Ryan. How about you?
We're not even going to say it because everybody knows what we're talking about. Right. Let's just say our quarterback is not going anywhere, and we'll just leave it at that. All right, I've actually even got a shirt for this guy, right? Like ready to roll. I'm a fan of him as a guy. He's a great dad. He's a great coach. He's also he knows his stuff, and so we're really excited to bring him on. Before we do that, though, we got two people we got to give a quick thank you to. So the first one is Jeff Cadwalader. Now we're not going to say much, but we're just going to say Jeff Cadwalader has supported us from the beginning. He's at something going on, a bit of a transition going on right now where we can't say anything more than that. So Jeff Cadwalader, let me just say this, a truly, truly wonderful guy. And we're so damn thankful for him. So Jeff, thank you, buddy.
Jeff, really thank you for supporting us from the onset, and good luck with your new endeavors. We really are supporting you like you supported us. And the other thing that's going down is that once we get past, I think we're in second or third winter, and then we'll have like the spring of deception, and then there'll be like false spring. But eventually spring's going to hit, and Ryan and I will get rid of all of this. We're going to trim it down, and we've got one guy to go to, and that's Will at Sheridan's Barbershop. And Sheridan's Barbershop is located in historic downtown Wheaton, Illinois, and it's been serving the community for 68 years. With 6 barbers. They are open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and they have appointments available to book online or by phone at your convenience. I usually go on the app. Ryan, what do you usually do? Do you go to the...
It's easy. The app is so easy to get it done, to get an appointment set. You've got to go check it out. Sheridan's, they're so freaking good, man.
Otherwise, you can go to sheridansbarbershop.com, or you can call 630-668 0137 and book your appointment today. Sheridan's Barbershop, where traditional meets modern.
All right, folks, I'm just going to say this as a programming note before we bring on our phenomenal guest, which is, if you are one of our audio-only listeners, we are watching film today, and so you're going to want to hop on over to YouTube. Check this video out on YouTube. We're going to try our best to describe it to all of you audio-only listeners, but yet again, we're telling you, come on over. All right, so without further ado, we've already kind of built this up quite a bit. Mike Fitzgerald, the head football coach of the York Dukes, good friend of ours, good friend of the show. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me on. Always great to talk with you guys. I know I leave you hanging for a while during football season, so it's good to be back.
So York Dukes kind of had a pretty spectacular season. Now, again, I know you're not going to say it, but I can say some things that you can't say. Beyond impressive. Just I know that there was I live in the area, and so hearing some of the things out, York's never going to win, and over the last couple of seasons, you have taken that program and just run with it, man. What do you attribute the success that you guys have had at York?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's not just me. I mean, we've had a ton of people pushing in the same direction. Unbelievable staff that is very committed, really good with relationships with the kids, and the kids are willing to do anything for them. And obviously, we got great kids who we've asked a lot out of them in terms of workouts and commitment and working hard, and they continue to step up and just do more. And the way they worked really set us up for constant progress. And this year, it kind of all came together, and it just was magical. I mean, even being removed from it from a few months, just you really start to think about it even more and how special it was. When you're in it, it's just like on to the next one, and you're trying to stay focused, tunnel vision. But now it's as we're removed, it really sinks in kind of what they did and what they accomplished. It was special for sure.
Building a program like you have that's not traditionally seen a lot of success is, I think, a lot of fun, and there's a lot of pride and a lot of hard work. What about the sustaining part of it now? Like what do you look forward to about that element?
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be our biggest challenge, right? Is not getting complacent and staying hungry. And, I think when we started, the first thing is just getting the kids to believe. I think that's the first part is, getting them to believe that it can be done, that we can make runs like this, we can win conference. And those are just words when you first get there. And the kids were great in terms of believing that. And we told them that's the start, but the behaviors are second. And we got to continue to work. And if we work hard, those things can happen. And I think the best thing for us is, we're one game away from the state championship. So now those words that we were preaching, some people and even the kids probably thought, like, is this really possible? You know what I mean? And now that they know it is possible, I think that motivates them even more. And I mean, we have about 130 kids right now in the morning working out, which is unbelievable. And they're not getting complacent. And I'm just really excited about this next group. And it is a new challenge, a new standard, but these kids are ready for that.
We talked last week. We had a phenomenal guest who you actually know, Nick Hildreth and Rachel Caros from Willowbrook High School, coaching the very first flag football state championship. We talked a little bit about the time commitment. I don't know that most people understand. Jack and I have both been high school coaches, and so we sort of get it. How do you how do you do it, man? You know what I mean? You've got 3 little ones at home, and all of that. Like, how do you make this work? I'm sure at the end of that season, your goal is clearly to get as far as you can in the playoffs, but at the same time, like, family, that's got to be tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, first off, you got to marry right. I mean, my wife, she's unbelievable. And honestly, a lot of that falls on her. And she's definitely a big part of our success, just like our other coaches. And she picks up a lot of the weight when I'm gone, but she never makes me feel bad about it. She knows it's a passion of mine. She knows making an impact on kids, and she sees it firsthand too. So she's, my biggest supporter, and that kind of lets me run with it. And it's a balancing act. You got to be able to shut things off when you come home, which is hard because your mind's racing about different things. And that's definitely something I got to get better at, because sometimes even when I leave work, it's still with me, which bothers me. I'm playing with my kids and I'm thinking about a football game. Like, it's hard to just shut it on, shut it off. So it's a constant process trying to do that. But when you work with great people and you work with great kids and they're motivated, it does help keep you going. And you get a note here or there from a kid saying how much, you made a difference. Like, that picks you up, it keeps you going and makes it all worthwhile, if you know what I mean.
It is infectious. Like the love of the game. I sometimes tell a story. I remember when I went to college, playing on Saturdays, and I would go to church on Sundays, and I had gone to church, every Sunday for 20 plus years. Thanks, Mom. But I remember one Sunday I was going through and just every single play was going through my head, play by play. And I had this moment where I was like, oh, I'm not going to church anymore. I'm going to football on Sundays. And so what you said about, playing with your kids and still thinking about it, That's fairly par for the course. That's a tough
Yeah.
thing to compartmentalize and shift gears.
Yeah, for sure. It's something I think we got to keep getting better at, just because family's got to come first and being able to do that. So it's something I'm working on. And like I said, I'm blessed with a great wife that makes it happen. But yeah, Hildreth, I don't know how he does that, going to his practice and the girls. But he's another guy who's just a tremendous coach and somebody who makes a great impact on kids. So it doesn't surprise me that, he jumps right into that, willing to kind of take that charge on and do something special for them as well.
Well, Fitz, we could talk high school ball all the time. I'll just say this, man. Every week we give shout outs, and Jack and I we're spending a lot of time talking about the York team and just so excited to see you guys go as far as you did. So that was a lot of fun. But we did bring you on to talk Chicago Bears. I think it's an important point to make out that you're not a Bears fan. Now, you are a huge football fan, and you did a whole lot of work for this podcast. But I think I'm kind of excited about the fact that you're not a Bears fan. You can look at this with a little bit more objective view than I think maybe some of our other guests. So thanks for doing that, first and foremost.
Yeah, going back to our last point, life is busy, so I really don't have a chance to watch football during the season. So I'm kind of removed from it, kind of entrenched in my own thing. And, when you ask me to do this, it's kind of fun to step away and look at somebody else. But yeah, I'm not an expert, and I don't want to be that guy that is in the crowd in my stands telling me what to do, because I know it's a lot more complicated to that, like what's going on in that locker room. And, there's things that they coach that maybe just didn't happen. So, there's definitely things to this that we'll never know the complete in and out of it.
Well, I think that the big question that we're going after is, why did Justin Fields struggle as a passer at times? And I think, Fitz, to your point, right, saying that you're not an expert, he admitted he didn't didn't do as well in the passing game as he would have liked. We understand that this is multifaceted, and I think more than you giving us specific answers, you're going to kind of break down some of the things. We're going to look at some film here. We're going to look specifically at the Dallas game. So that's Week 8, Chicago Bears at Dallas, wearing those just hideous orange jerseys. We're going to look at some things that Justin Fields did well, and some things not so well, and also some things that the Chicago Bears were able to do because of Justin Fields' skill set. Is there anything that I'm kind of missing in there, Fitz, before we kind of sort of hop into this?
No, you guys asked me to look at a few games, and I think the Dallas game is kind of a good one because it highlights a lot of the things that I saw in other tapes. So I think this will be good to go through and maybe point out some things that the casual football fan might not even recognize. And honestly, it's hard to recognize when it's going so fast on TV. Like, you really got to watch this stuff a few times and be like, oh, there's something there that maybe I didn't see the first time. So I appreciate you guys, doing the video. I know this is a first, so I'm glad to be a part of this, and I think it'll be fun.
So yeah, when Fitz goes, hey, I really want to look at this and do this, and so that people can see it, I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to do that. So I'm asking for just a little bit of grace with everybody that's out there. So boom, hey, first we got it on the screen, so we got that going for us, which is nice. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and we're gonna hit play. Can you guys see it?
Before you even hit play, I'll just point out a couple things. So what we're going to see in this play is what I call the H-back, this tight end off the ball, the second receiver down here on the bottom. He's going to go in motion. And a lot of teams use that motion to help the quarterback to identify whether it's man or zone. And you'll see the guy run with them, which will be the first indicator that it's man. And then I'll kind of go from there. So if you want to start the film.
Sure. So that's why the tight end is moving out to the top of the screen, the Justin Fields right. Gotcha.
Yep. So go back to the start. So this is just a simple concept where he's going to motion out and stop it right there. That guy goes with him. They have a screen up there on the top. So if nobody went with them, it'd be 3-on-2. It's a simple numbers read. They're going to throw the screen out there. So he knows right away it's 3-on-3. So he's going to go down here to the single receiver side. And basically it's a two-man combination. And you could see there's some miscommunication here, which I saw a few times through the films. He's either expecting this number one receiver to break it off into a slant because it's man, and you'll see that he settles, and that kind of throws Fields off, or he should be picking the linebacker who's covering the back out of the backfield. And when I say picking, it's not pass interference. He should just aim at the toes of that defender, so the defender goes over the top, which is going to give him enough time to throw that arrow route to the running back. But you'll see neither happens. And that kind of throws Fields off as he's looking that way. And again, being a great athlete, he's able to make something happen, which happens a lot as I went through a bunch of film.
Sorry, guys. Already first technical difficulty. I've already moved on to the second one. Okay. Anything else that we want to take a look at with this particular play? I guess the again, overarching question is, why did Justin Fields struggle as a passer? So if you had to point to one kind of single factor for this particular play, Fitz, what do you, is it a breakdown on the offensive line? Is it receivers? Is it just really good defense by Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's a technique issue with the receivers versus man. Like, something didn't happen, whether this outside receiver should have stayed on the move or he should have set a pick for the linebacker. Because you can see Fields, and obviously we only have the sideline copy, but watching the tight copy too, he is looking to the left side and there's nothing there. So he tucks it down and he goes and he tries to make something happen, which he's able to do. This one actually gets called back for pass interference because those guys were blocking the screen and he threw it as he was throwing the screen. So that was the penalty on that play.
Okay. So it's designed to be a man beater. They're first, you said, running the motion to identify man, looking to see what the numbers are on the top of the field to see if that linebacker doesn't run with the motion man, then they know they've got good numbers and they'll throw the screen up top. But since the linebacker ran with motion, now you're looking at the man-on-man receivers down at the bottom of the screen, the outside receiver, and then I believe the running back comes out of the backfield. So one of those two men on the left side of the field should have run a route that would have been a man beater that Fields could have linked up with, because we know now that they've vacated and they've brought their strength to the top of the field, to the screen side. Am I stating that correctly?
Yep, correct. There's a zone side and man side. The motion said that it was man, so he goes to the man side. The receiver, there was obviously a technique breakdown. I think he should have broke out, or he should have set a screen for that running back. Again, I don't know what the play call was. None of us will never know. But again, as the casual fan, you see the quarterback, just tuck it and run. You're like, oh, what's he doing? Or you yell at the coach saying, that was a terrible play call. But again, I think there was a technique issue in that play where there should have been a viable option for them.
That's the really interesting thing, I think, because there's been so much discussion, especially, in the past year, with wide receivers and their ability or inability to create separation and get open. And, you even on that one play, you see it. There's so many facets to it. Are they running the right route? Are they gaining separation? Is the offensive line allowing them enough time for Fields to throw? There's so many components.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, that's something you'll see throughout this. And again, it's Getsy's first year, so there's a learning curve. A lot of new guys in the system too. So it takes some time to kind of develop that rapport and understanding of, especially nuances with that. Like, you install a play like that, it's easy when it's just, it's zone man, but then you got to execute it.
Yes.
So if I have this correct, boys, and I sure hope that I do, this is now the next drive, because that last one ended in a punt. And so now we are looking at 1st and 10 on Chicago's 43-yard line. Fitz, do I have the right play pulled up for you?
Yeah, this looks like the right one. Before you hit play, I'll just kind of explain what we're going to see here. So this is just something I think is a great scheme for Justin Fields. And they do this a lot, and he has a lot of success with this, but basically just a basic naked route, which kind of gets him on the move. You're going to sell the run, nice, easy throw, nice, easy reads, and you can go ahead and play it here.
Okay.
So what's kind of creative about this, they actually sell the naked, typical naked. You're going to show like full flow, big run fake. They actually fake the toss. And then he's just going to open up, fake the toss to the right, open up to the left. And it was really creative with that short motion too, to kind of condense space, to create space. That short motion comes in, and then he bounces out. That's his first read in the flat. And then usually you'll have a clear out, a flat, and then someone coming across the field. And I think these are things that he's really comfortable with. And again, nice, easy pitch and catch, 4 or 5 yards. It's built off your run game. And I think this is something I just wanted to point out that I think they need to do more of.
When you say naked, would you explain a little bit the difference between a naked boot and when you're going to pull a lineman and add a little protection?
Yeah, so typical, like the way we talk about it, and a lot of teams talk about naked and boot. Naked is they're completely by themselves. The run fake has to hold that D end. There's no lineman coming with them. When you say boot or bootleg, at least in my terminology and a lot of other coaches, boot tells you that there's going to be another lineman that's going to be pulling to kind of protect that quarterback. But again, Justin Fields being big athletic guy, he's able to, if you get the run game going, those are great plays for him.
I will say before we go to the next one, one of the criticisms of Getsy was that he had a tendency to go to naked boot a little bit too often and a little bit too predictably with Fields. And so in that one instance, and we saw a lot of Getsy growth over the course of the year, that last play that we watched, I think is good in terms of growth, because you're right, the play fake does help. It does freeze the defense long enough to still allows them to do the naked boot effectively in that instance.
Yeah. And to your point too, Jack, sometimes like as fans, you're like, well, they're doing the naked too much. But if they saw on the sideline, the play before where they ran it and the defensive end wasn't honoring it,
yes,
like that's why they might have come to it. And even sometimes myself as a play caller, even when it doesn't work, just giving the threat that it's there, that you have to stay home for it, helps open up the running game later on. So sometimes even like a screen, sometimes we'll throw and we don't get anything out of it. But again, it's making the defense be honest and they have to, kind of honor those things.
Well, that's one of the, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say,
you go.
I'm going to say something just really quick is I love the way that you later on in the plays, you're going to show, hey, this is how Luke Getsy set up for a really successful run play by Khalil Herbert is the one that I'm thinking just right up off the top of my head.
Yep.
Just love that the setup game. Just really quick, Fitz, is that something that you're thinking about in a game? Like, hey, I'm going to keep calling this so they think it's coming again so that I'm setting them up for later on?
For sure. I mean, we always want to try and have some type of play action off our core runs, because if it's something we're going to run a lot, when they come up and stuff that, we want to have something to kind of have them respect that. So it's something we always build in, and there's usually a guy in the box that, hey, we're running this play, watch the backside. Is the end staying home, or is he selling out on the run? So those are things that we're watching for throughout the course of the game. And we actually have some technology too, where we can watch the game on the sideline. So when the defense is out there offensively, we're going through that series to look at those things.
I just wanted to do my best, Patrick Sheldon. Can you do the naked too much? That thing?
Yeah. Fitz, we have a few other guys that are not here. They wanted to be here, but also we wanted to make sure that we got as much time for you and not having 5 guys asking you questions at one time. Are we ready to talk about this next one? Again, I think I have the right one pulled up here.
Yeah, this one is pretty basic, just in terms of the flaw. You'll see this is a hard play action, and there's obviously some miscommunication. You'll see the receiver on the top right, he's blocking. He doesn't even know it's a pass. So, I don't know if this was a signal issue or this was a communication in the huddle or what was going on. But again, just another thing that's like, oh, Fields is holding the ball. What's he doing? And then you look at the sideline view where you can see everybody. The guy's not even running a route. So if you want to roll that, you can kind of see the mistake here in the communication.
This one's crazy because I looked at your notes, Fitz, and I think both of the top 2 receivers are blocking.
Right.
And I don't, what is going on? Like, I don't.
So let's watch this one more time. So Justin Fields under center, you're right. There it is. There's that play action and looking for a guy that is just not there. And then that athletic ability. Both of them
settle down. They both break down, settle into a pass blocking tech.
And that's what's crazy about Fields. That's how freakish he is, right? Nobody even runs a route, and he still turns it into a positive play, keeps them on schedule. So the only thing, I mean, sometimes the NFL is so advanced that they have 2 play calls, on this play, and one of them could be play action if you saw a single high defense, and maybe in his head he knew he was changing the play, but he didn't verbally change the play. So there could be some, like I said, there's got to be some type of miscommunication here, because this doesn't look right. But I think it's a great scheme, 7-man protection. Fields has got a big arm, simple reads, single high. So I'm guessing they were trying to get like a deep comeback or double move or some type of shot there, but it just didn't happen.
So the offensive line is pass blocking, and I think the receiver at the bottom of the screen was running an actual route. Yeah, I guess what I would wonder on that, and of course they're humans playing a human game, but just think about the amount of times you rep a play in practice. Is it just as simple as what you just said? As they go back and they watch that one, Getsy's going to say, "Hey, Justin, what was your line call? Like, what did you say? What did you see? What did you call out?"
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they're miscommunication in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage. If he was supposed to check it and maybe in his head he checked it, but he didn't verbally tell them what was going on. But yeah, definitely something, that doesn't look right.
No.
So this one, this is the 3rd and 4, right? On the 32.
That is correct.
Okay. So this is another good use of motion for a young quarterback that's going to help him determine the coverage. Pretty simple here. I mean, you got single high defense. The DBs are head up on the receiver. So you're kind of thinking, man, they send him in motion. So that confirms that it's man. Now, what we would do, again, I think this is a technique mistake, is you'll see that motion guy is running in the flat. It's 3rd and 4, short yardage, or 3rd and medium. What we would tell our receivers to do is to run at the toes of that guy covering him in motion, because that's going to force him to go over the top, which is going to create enough space to get that ball off. So if you can pause it kind of right when he gets into his route, right here. So you can see the top receiver on the left, he goes over the top of him. He should go underneath them. So roll that back just a little. Doing a great job, Ryan. This is tough.
Mm-hmm.
But that should give him enough room, but he doesn't. He allows that defender to go underneath him. So he's on him like glue, and there's really nowhere to throw the ball. And again, Fields unbelievably just reverses course and makes something happen. But that looked like a one-man route. So to me, there was a technique mistake. I mean, he's rolling to the left. There's one guy in the flat. It's 3rd and 4. He's going to be right at the sticks. Didn't happen.
So he's probably looking for, if he's got an internal clock, he's looking for a rather quick release on that. And when he's looking at that left side combo, he's seeing no one come open. And if I hear you right, it's because ultimately perhaps the route running is not as disciplined as it needs to be. And then all of a sudden I didn't see it on the right side. He gets pressured. Does the right tackle miss his block? And so then he just scrambles it out.
I don't think it was a pressure issue. I just think it was kind of a one-man route in the flat. And when he realized he wasn't there, he got the heck out of there and tried to make something happen. But yeah, I think a technique issue. And again, I mean, this happens at our level too. Like sometimes we'll have too much in, and when you have too much in, that's when technique and discipline and details, you can miss those little nuances in those situations. This one right here, we got 1st and goal in the 6. Again, just another naked for Justin Fields, which I think fits his skill set. So just want to point this out. I think, again, you look at Shanahan and the success that he has with the Niners. I mean, it's run, naked, play action, and it just complements each other well. And I think here's just a good example of this again.
This was possibly my favorite play that you pulled up, Fitz, because of that arm angle. Literally going under the arm of the defender was just incredible. So
For
again,
sure.
that play action
And hit pause right here.
Sorry, Fitz,
go
give me
back.
just one second. Yep.
Go back to the top. What's also really good about this is a lot of times that guy coming into the flat is closer to the line of scrimmage. They're actually doing it with their number 1 receiver to the top there, who's just inside the numbers. Yep, right there. And that corner has a man-to-man. So that's a lot of ground to cover. He's got to go from there all the way to the flat. But it shows you how athletic these guys are too. I mean, it's no problem. He's there and making that tackle pretty quick there. And actually the linebacker ended up, coming off, saw the fake and leaked out there. But yeah, the arm angle, again, just having that arm slot to get the throw.
The other thing I think on that one that stands out to me is as the season progressed, Fields' ball fakes improved remarkably. So in a play like that, like what does that mean for the overall effectiveness of the offense in a play like we just saw?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, play faking is an art, and a lot of guys, want to rush it because it's kind of counterintuitive, right? You think, oh, it's a pass. I need to get out of here quick to run the pass. But honestly, for those play action, those nakeds, you want to sell it. And we actually teach our quarterbacks to like present the ball, show it with your hands, and write it with your hands and your eyes to really sell it and then get out of there. But yeah, I saw some progress there in some of the later films that I saw of him.
Yes.
And I think right there, he just kind of got antsy. He knew it was man and kind of rushed it. And that's why that linebacker probably came off and, stepped up for the corner who had a man-to-man. Otherwise, it probably would have been a touchdown.
I remember talking about it because if you think of like, Peyton Manning being that fantastic play action pass quarterback, it's the opposite. It's this, fake handoff for a quarterback run. It just, I don't know. He mastered it at times, which is why we saw him set the single season rushing record for a Bears quarterback.
Now this play right here, 2nd and goal on the 3, I think don't play it yet. This is kind of what separates Fields, I think, from the other people in the league. I mean, he's one of those guys that is an X factor down here, kind of like Jalen Hurts. When you get down here, the defense has to account for the running back. They have to account for quarterback run. And a lot of teams want to load the box, and especially the interior, because they want to stop that inside run. The closest way to score is that inside run. Well, here, they do a great job of coming down with their receivers, cracking, and then pulling guys around and leading Justin Fields on the outside. And this is just difficult to defend when the quarterback can run and he's big like this down here. This is what makes you special in these critical situations.
Sit there, Justin in the shotgun, taking the snap, immediate run. There's no question that he's going for it. And just to his left, rushing touchdown. Fitz, I'm smiling right now for our audio only listeners. Like, thank you for making sure to include this play, just because it's fun to watch them use him not simply as a drop back passer.
Yeah. And honestly, like this year, we had a quarterback who was a really good runner, and we did a lot of the similar stuff like this, and it bails you out like critical situations, short yardage, 3rd and short, 4th and short, down in the goal line. You gotta move the chains or you gotta score. And when you have a quarterback like this and gives you this dimension, I mean, it takes your offense to a whole nother level, and it's a headache for the defense because there's a lot to prepare for.
Now, Fitz, can I ask you, because we're looking at this, and Braxton Jones, the left tackle, number 70, was a 5th round rookie. We thought played pretty darn well. As we get close to this, to the end zone here, I don't know why he just stands out to me. So here he is out in front. Is this the block to make? Does he make the right block here? Is just enough to get the corner on the outside there? What are you thinking with that?
Yeah, for sure. So the receivers, they're trying to pin down there, and then they're leading with the tight end and the tackle. And Justin's just reading that block. If that defender overcommits, he's going to cut inside just like that. If Braxton outflanked him, then he would kind of seal him, and that ball would hit outside of him. But typically the guy's going to react like that, and it's a pretty simple block. And a lot of times too, the blockers get yelled at, but it's the running back setting up the block. Like a key point for running backs is never cut in space for a ball carrier. So Justin Fields, in that case, you never want to cut in space. You always want to cut on the heels of your blocker, because that's going to force the defender to get engaged into the block. If you cut in space, then that guy's going to come over the top, and then your blocker is just, he's not in a good perspective, a good frame to block that.
Someone might watch that last play and say that was the left guard pulling. So I think in that instance, I think Braxton, he kicked out, and it was the left guard that pulled and led up into the end zone on that play. Not trying to correct you guys. I just know we'll have somebody who will in the comments say, well, Braxton Jones didn't pull on that play. Okay.
Yeah. And those types of plays, honestly, is front dependent a lot of times. So like if somebody's inside of you, you down block. If not, you pull around. So
so it is a dependent on the defensive alignment in terms of who pulls.
Correct. On some of those pin and pull plays.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that scenario.
So this one just kind of points out, again, some issues with, I think there's some poor technique in terms of receiver spacing here. There's they try and run like a double move here on the bottom, and the number 2 receiver on the bottom, he should run an arrow. He should get to the flat as fast as possible. Towards the bottom. He kind of goes vertical, and the other guy's trying to run what's called like a stick and nod. So he's kind of faking it out and then going up. And then the slot receiver should be trying to pull that safety, he comes over the middle. So you got two guys in the same spot. So
sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
I don't know what that's a glitch from the system. That's not me.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you kind of just pause it in the middle. So right there, you can see you got the two slot receivers kind of going towards the middle of the field, and they end up together, which is
not good.
I can't believe that's what they want. You got the receiver down here who probably should have been on the other side of the defender. You have the back swinging out there too. So to me, there's just not a lot of space. And then the other thing is you got a 4-man rush creating pressure right away. I mean, so I think it just illustrates a couple things. That's not Fields' mistake here. I think there's some bad techniques and bad spacing. And then obviously the pass protection for a double move, you got to be able to hold up a little. And this, the guard there missed, and he's
a lot of bad on that play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's funny as watching it, because I'm sure I was frustrated when it happened live. That's just that guard. Wow, that is a terrible, terrible block. It just throws me, not expecting to see that.
That double move by, was it Komet on the bot? I mean, I don't know. I wonder if that's and again, I was going to ask you this a little bit later, right? Because you think about the whole idea of, we've said on this show before, like, rising tides raises all ships. So knowing what Fields had around him and the constant discussion about that, you just think about the ways in which having better offensive linemen and better wide receivers allow for you as a play caller to alter what you do, Mike, or when you have a dearth of talent, no talent, how that then changes what you do. And I just wonder, do you want to have, your wide receivers in that instance running double moves and all of the stuff that was going on, or is that fairly standard, or maybe bad play call given what we know about the personnel in the offensive line?
That a lot of things to consider, right? I mean, right. It always starts with the players. You obviously want to have a player who can do a double move, that can get in and out of a cut. You obviously got to have the protection, because it's going to take more time, to do some type of double move. I think the other thing is, I don't know previous games, had they run that concept a few times where they kind of felt like they had set it up. I mean, these guys at that level, the way they scout, I mean, they recognize the formation and dial it up. So maybe they thought they had a tendency that they wanted to break there. But those are all things I think they take into account. And like you said, the players obviously is the first thing you got to take into account. But you do got to take some shots every now and then. They're not all going to work. I mean, if that one would have popped, it'd been like, oh, that's a great play call. You know what I mean? So it's tough. This one, I think it's 3rd and 3 on the 32, right?
Yep.
This one, I think is just something Fields has got to get better at. This is easy money. This is just a speed out to the boundary. I mean, this is an easy throw that needs to be completed, every time at this level, in my opinion. And
so he's just late getting the ball out there to his receiver.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. I think the footwork's a little sloppy. They're starting to teach the back pedal again when you're throwing to your left, if you're a right-handed quarterback, because your right foot then is basically perpendicular on your line, so to speak. And I think the ball's going to go on the level of your shoulders. So if you drop back lazily and your shoulders are tilted, the ball's going to sail a little. And I think that's kind of what he does. I think the footwork is kind of just a little sloppy, and he's falling back. He's off balance. But to me, this should be a play that's completed every time at this level. The coverage, you got some cushion. It's into the boundary. So just one that I thought was his fault.
Did you find that you saw that sparingly, Mike, or did you feel like there were more instances where you saw some lazy fundamentals? Because I would agree with you 100%. There doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency. He's not dropping back in a crisp way, and you defined it perfectly, because he's not in a good position to throw the ball, so he sails it behind the wide receiver's shoulder.
Yeah, again, I mean, I've watched limited film. I probably dove into 4 or 5 games, and I did see it a little. He's obviously a younger quarterback, and I think everybody kind of has some technique issues at time. But something like that, he probably just took it for granted too. Like, oh, this is easy throw, and just kind of lost focus for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got 2nd and 10 on the 47. This one, I call this max pass pro. I mean, they're keeping 7 in to block, 4 essentially. and it's an easy twist to pick up. They can't protect. They had an opportunity at a bigger play. This one they actually did bring 5, but still, I mean, this shouldn't be difficult to pick up.
Yeah.
And you can see the number 2 receiver, if you pause it right now, they kind of have a mix up in coverage, but since he doesn't have any time, he's got to throw the out route. And if you play it just a little more, the corner comes wide open. Nobody's even covering him.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so this is Darnell Mooney that's right here. As I was watching this play, as you were giving us this list, I mean, this just feels like, especially with the chemistry those two have, I mean, he's got space for days right here to maybe not to score, but to, just collect yards big time.
Yeah, but again, no time. I mean, it's lucky he got this out, and honestly, he does a good job.
Wow,
kind of flinging it out there. And again, that's all arm. Going back to your point, Jack, like his feet really aren't probably set in the right spot. Like he should have his body turned a little more, since every receiver's to the right. So your shoulders should always be kind of on the same line as your target. And in that instance, his shoulders are going towards the middle of the field, but his arm is going towards the numbers and the receiver. So he could probably shift his body a little there.
If there's an example of what an improved offensive line would do for his passing proficiency, that last play is it. Because he has the ability there to hit Mooney on the corner route, for plus yardage and a big gain. And those add up over time.
For sure.
Like the difference between having to try to do a secondary play, scramble, or like you said, just flick it to the flats, as opposed to, taking the deeper shot. That's huge.
Oh yeah. Turnovers and explosive plays are game changers. And again, they had max protection. So they had they had the play call perfect. They had 7 guys to block 5. They had man-to-man.
Right.
And they couldn't execute it. This one, we got 3rd and 4 on the 47, right?
Correct.
This is almost the same example here. They're going max protection. So when I say max protection, 5 linemen, the tight end, and the running back, 7 to block 4, and they can't protect it. Again, he's flushed out.
And he's a stud.
Yeah.
But I wish you could throw instead. I'm sure he does too.
But okay, correct me if I'm wrong. It sure looks like he's trying. He has his eyes downfield. Like he doesn't want to run on this play. He is looking. It to me again looks like he's looking downfield here. He wants to get. Maybe he could have gotten the receiver at the top of the screen. I mean, am I missing something here, boys?
No, I think he did have his eyes downfield, and I think he was trying to climb the pocket, and then the secondary guy came. I mean, the end comes off the edge. He steps up. He tries to move, and then he's flushed at that point.
Can you do it one more time, Rye?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to see the routes.
Guy over the middle pops open.
Oh, yeah, he pops big. I mean, 2 plays in a row.
Right.
Where if there's just a little offensive line blocking and max protection, Mike, it's such a great point that you're making. I mean, it's stinking max protect, guys.
Yeah.
So it is Komet that finally does get open. I guess, at that point, you're being chased down. You don't really have much of a choice, right? So that's
and you'll see the defender, he kind of turned and ran with him. So I think he was looking at him, and then when he turned his shoulders and ran with the receiver, he tucked it and ran, got what he could. And again, it was 3rd and 4. Like, I think that was good situational awareness. He was able to get the first down.
That's a great point. Yeah, just tuck it and get to the sticks and you're done.
Yeah.
And if he would have thrown to Komet, it would have been, he's creating in that situation, and depends on the situation.
Yeah, so this next one is hard to watch. I know, how it ended up finishing out with. I don't want to give it away, but it's a penalty. But still, this I don't know, man. I'm curious to hear what you're going to say on this one, Fitz.
Yeah, so this is 1st and 15 on the 32. This was just, to me, I think this is poor anticipation. Like in the NFL, you got to throw the ball if you can try and stop it right out of the receiver's break. So right about now. Like, to me, he's got enough room to throw. He's got single coverage. There's got to be some trust in the receiver. This ball's got to be out sooner. I think he hangs on to it too long, which allows him to take a hit, and then that ball sails and it gets picked off. But right there, the ball should be out.
Yeah.
But again, he's not able to that extra half a second at this level, and that's something he's just got to improve on, is that anticipation. And these guys are so fast on defense that you can't wait till they break.
No, let me ask you about that, Fitz. So in that particular, if we just focus on the DB and the wideout in that particular situation, the primary, the wideout, correct me if I'm wrong, he's taught to break that route off the minute that the DB flips his hips, correct? Right there. Or is that a designed route for him to sit down?
Again, it's hard to tell. I mean, there are what's called a vertical choice route where the receiver actually reads the DB, like you're saying. If he flips his hips, he hasn't broken the cushion down, then he's going to sit down. And maybe that's why Justin is kind of waiting to see what he's going to decide. He doesn't trust it. Or it's a called kind of comeback route at the sticks, and he should let that thing rip. So that could have come into play there. Again, I don't know their playbook. I don't know if what type of sit route that was.
So just to give a quick bit of context on this next play, there was a roughing the passer call, which nullifies the interception, as well as giving the Bears 1st and 10 in the red zone here.
Yep. So again, this is another max pass pro play. So we got 7 guys to block, whoever comes. If they bring pressure, which looks like they are down here in the red zone, you're going to see more pressure. Again, it's basically cover 0. You got man-to-man here. So it's basically give me some time, find my best matchup, and let it rip. And you'll see this time they do protect him. He's got 2 options. The number 2 receiver can run a fade route from the slot, and number 3 is kind of running like a cross route, like a skinny post. He ends up hitting the post, likes that matchup. And again, when you protect him, he lets it rip, and It's a touchdown. Good, accurate throw right in his chest.
I wanted to ask, if I'm a quarterback, don't I want to lead that guy just a little bit more than he let him? I mean, I guess he's got the good position. I mean, in terms of where he's at in relation to the DB, but like, would it be beneficial for Fields to lead him just a little bit more, keeping the ball away from the defender, or am I just reading too much into this?
I mean, I really like the throw. I mean, I think against that coverage, he's gonna flatten it more, and I think. As quarterbacks, we talk about a 1 ball, which is a line drive, a 2 is kind of medium, and then the 3 is the high ball. And I think that is definitely, he's got to let that thing rip in a 1 ball.
Especially because he's got the DB on his back. He's basically he's got him in a position whereas if he were, because it's a good question, right? If he were to float it out or lead it, then maybe he gives that DB an opportunity to make a play on the ball.
Yeah.
And he had separation. I mean, I think if there's separation, don't leave it to chance. Just try and put it right on him.
It was a nice ball in that situation. I mean, that's great to see. Like you said, he had a little time, and I think we did see that throughout the course of the season, where if he did have a little bit of time in the pocket, he would stand high and he would step up into the pocket and he would deliver. But there were a lot of instances like that 1-2 plays ago where you're like, wow, man, you got to recognize and rip it. And that's probably one of the things that you and, Kurt Warner and a lot of the other analysts had said about him, that he was a little bit hesitant in those situations sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a quarterback, you got to love that situation where, you're max protected, you got man-to-man. And if you got guys who can win and protect, I mean, you look at what he did at Ohio State, like you got those receivers and you're going to be protected. I mean, he was playing at a high level, and I think he's going to get there, once he gets some weapons and, the pass protection gets better.
I guess go ahead, Ryan.
No, I got it. It was taking me a minute to get it pulled up, but I've got the next play, unless there's something else you guys want to talk about first.
No, let's roll.
Yeah, right. So this is another good one. 2nd and 9 on the 39. This is a great concept for Fields. Again, it's max protection, and it's a 2-man route. So this one, he's going to give a hard play fake, and you're going to see the receiver on the top. He's going to kind of make it look like he's running the over on the boot, and then just puts foot in the ground, pivots out.
I must have watched this play 7 or 8 times, just because the cut by Mooney, he's telling the DB, I'm going one way, and then just that nice cut right there, back outside. Oh man, that's just a thing of beauty right there.
Yeah, it's wild how the cornerback or how the corner then passed off too. Why would the corner pass off in that situation?
So again, can you naked too many times, right? They see hard play action naked 90% of the time. The guy's running the deep over route. So I think he got his head in the backfield. He saw naked, I got to go. Right. And I think he just got on his horse.
Oh, you're right.
And then I think he kind of thought he was getting high load by the other receiver.
Yes.
And so he kind of saw him, spun out to, make sure the safety didn't blow that one. But again, this is something he can do. Big arm.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So in other words, because they had run naked so often, perhaps that cornerback assumed that they were running naked to the opposite side. Correct. So he got on his horse.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Fields plants his foot and goes straight to Mooney.
Yep.
That's kind of sweet.
And he saw the other receiver once he realized what was going on. He saw the other receiver flash by him, and he didn't know if the safety saw him. So then I think he just centerfold
nice
drilled.
design, isn't it?
Yeah. Again,
that's cool.
You watch Shanahan, those guys, again, when they get the ball, when they get the run game going, hard play action, they're going to do a lot of stuff like that where it's just.
I like that last play. That one was cool.
easy read. Again, here's another great naked concept. So I think that's kind of the theme, right? Getting them on the move, get the run game going. Again, just super easy concept, great scheme. And we've seen a lot of different ways. Again, pressure in his face, just the arm angle. That's a tough throw.
I'm so impressed because he's such a big guy, and to be able to, as he gets here again, play action to Khalil Herbert, and then that underneath the defender's arm, like I just am so impressed with that angle and how he's able to do that.
Go back to that one, Ryan, real quick, because this is going to set up the next one.
Give me 1 second here, boys. All right.
Okay. So here, pause it right after his fake if you can. Okay. So see how these defenders, they're starting to play the naked. They're not really squeezing on that tackle. Okay. And that's the great thing about the run game and naked is as soon as they start doing that, that's when you want to come back with the run game. So we'll load this next clip up and you'll see.
Because they're not honoring the run in that situation at all. In other words, they are so keyed to the naked boot.
Correct.
They're not honoring the run. So then that would be a give in a lot of instances.
Yep, for sure.
Once they overplay, then you take advantage.
Yep. We've only picked out a few plays, right? And how many of them have been naked? So,
right.
I mean, they're starting to kind of overplay that.
Yes.
So this is what we're talking about here. They're just running a zone play. And you're going to see that DN, that backside defense linebacker too. They're going to be all playing the naked. And then the cutback goes right inside of them.
Dude.
They didn't honor it at all.
Yeah.
They didn't honor the run at all.
Sorry, boys. It is glitching just a little bit again. I apologize for that. But yeah, so that Khalil. So basically, folks, for their listening, I mean, it's looking like it's going to be Justin Fields passing again, but at this time, Khalil Herbert just takes the ball basically right up the gut for a touchdown. What a play! What a play!
One more time, Ray. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the DNs are usually they're gonna squeeze down, kind of play the heel line. This guy comes upfield so hard, and he can't retrace. And that cutback's there. But again, going back to what you're saying, right? There's somebody in the box watching this. Like, hey, 2 plays ago, Justin Fields, right? He had to pull up, arm angle. That guy's right in his face. Let's come back with the zone run.
So, boys, let me ask you a question. So right there, I'm watching both the outside receiver as well as the running back put their hands up by their ears. Is that signaling that there was a change in a play call just so that they know what's going on?
Yeah, typically that kind of symbolizes that they're all on the same page. So 2 plays might have been called in the huddle. He checked the play. They touched their head, making sure that they're all on the same page there.
So that gets me even more excited then, because that's basically telling me is that Justin Fields read it correctly. And much of the criticism of Justin Fields has been his inability to read defenses. I mean, I know it can be, I don't know, am I oversimplifying here?
No, I mean, it could have been an instance where the play call was something like zone naked, check. And, if those defenders were playing wide, let's run the zone. If nobody's out in space, run the naked. So, if he did change it, or it could have been just a dummy call. And we're giving him too much credit. Right?
Yeah, where he just makes some kind of call at the line. They checked their helmets, but it was a run play the whole time.
Right, Omaha on every single play.
Right.
All right. So looking at this is now Fitz the 2-point call, right? The extra point play.
Yeah, this is a 2-point play, and again, situational football. I would think that this play has been repped a lot. So again, we got motion. We know it's man. So yeah, to the left. There should be some type of rub concept. I would think that the slot should be setting up a rub for the outside versus man. They end up passing it off. He wasn't expecting it. It could have been, Dallas playing great defense where they passed that off. And
So
they had him fooled there on the left.
Jeez.
And then he just takes the hit.
Our audio only listeners, let me just say this sack hurts watching it. And how many weeks back is this football game? I feel bad for Justin Fields on this play. That just looks like it hurts.
Now go back though to the start. So what's built into this play though is a zone read. So the guy who hits him, he could have ran the ball and read him. You see how there was a run fake?
Yeah.
But he saw man, so his eyes completely went off to the left. And when they switched it off, he was screwed there. Now, again, going back to a coordinator, if you have a quarterback that you don't want to take a hit, you can create the RPO differently where you can protect that C gap. Like that's a real risky RPO with your franchise quarterback that you're not going to protect them. And he looks left and takes like you said, a 6-yard head start and just gets nailed. So play design, that could have been a little different.
So, Mike, if I heard you correctly, then you're saying that the read probably should have been in that situation on the RPO to have handed the ball off. Why do you think that Justin kept it in the pass?
It was an option to run it, but I think with the motion, it was man. So he liked the man combination, but if you saw the Cowboys defenders, they didn't chase. They switched off.
I see.
And when they switched off, he had nowhere to go with the ball.
I see.
And so the guy
screwed.
Right. But you could have attached a tight end to block that D end.
And now he's got a chance.
And now if they do switch off, he at least can protect himself and get back to the line of scrimmage or throw it away. So they could have protected him a little better there.
Mm-hmm.
1st and 10 from the 25.
All right. So this is just simple zone read play. So we just saw the play where he was an option to give it, but he went to the other side. This one just basically reading the DN, the tight end arcs.
Wow.
He squeezes down.
Dude.
He pulls it. I mean, again, this is that X factor. You look at what Hurts did with Philly. I mean, it's just nice to have a player who can do this. Tight end's going to arc on a corner, read the DN. He crashes. A lot of space.
On the run. I mean, the DN sold out hard on the run in that situation. And I wonder if he remembered the Khalil Herbert play.
Yeah, exactly. It's that cat and mouse of, naked zone, naked zone, naked zone. All right, now they're respecting it. Let's come back with the read.
So Cole Kmet gets called for a holding call on this one, which is kind of a bummer because it just seems like, I mean, that maybe he doesn't need that Justin Fields is so fast that first initial, when he puts his hands on him, that would have been enough. And
so go pause it right when he's behind the tight end. Right there. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Just little details, little technique. The ball carrier can't cut in space. What he should do is try and run through the outside of Kmet's number. And that's going to set up the block and it's going to create space for that cutback. But what he does is he cuts it a little early. And so then the tight end panics. The DB tries to sink back inside to get Fields. And that's what creates the hold. So this is something you got to work on a lot. Just getting guys in space. But he could have set that block up a little more.
Okay. So the fact that he cuts it underneath makes it so that the defender then has a path to the football and then makes it so that Kmet ends up holding. Whereas if Fields would have pressed the sidelines and pressed Kmet's outside number, that puts Kmet in a better spot to make a block.
Yeah, commits the defender to the blocker, gets him engaged where you can get your hands inside. But if you make the cut too soon, he's going over the top and then your hands are outside your cylinder. The ref sometimes, they're going to
keep pressing sideline, making the defender think that as a runner, Fields, that he's going to try to keep pushing to the sidelines and he's setting up his block. Then if he wants to cut back, he can cut back a little bit later and void the hold.
Right off his butt. And what it does too is it creates space from the pursuit.
Right.
You're widening the pursuit. So
that's so cool.
Just a little technique thing.
We got a couple plays left here, which gets me excited because the logistics of this, but also just we've got some interesting plays coming up here too.
Yeah, so we got 3rd and 7 on the 39. And again, this just, I think, shows it's a great throw when given time. He's got the big arm. Again, max protection. They kind of chip off into it.
Great play. Great throw. So Justin Fields sitting in the shotgun, takes the snap, just outside receiver. I think I can't tell if that's Dante Pettis or whoever's got the ball. Just a great outside left throw. Nope, that's Darnell Mooney. Sorry.
That's like a whip route, or
yeah, it's a deep whip. So like we call it a pinch route, a post bench. So he's going to fake the post, go to the bench. And again, right hash in the NFL, throwing all the way to the left sideline, big time throw, right on the money.
And he's got time.
Yep, he's got time.
I think that's the thing is that I love that you were talking about, right? Because if the offensive line is blocking on a regular basis, the dude has all the tools. He has all the tools in which to kind of make it happen.
Yeah, and the other thing to point out, right, too, is if you're going to max protect and you have the time, then it comes down, can your receiver beat the DB? And goes to that weapons piece. Like Mooney's obviously pretty talented, but when he went out, who's that guy? So even when you're max protecting, you run a 2-man route, can you win? So that makes it tough.
Because that was, I think, going to be one of my biggest questions, and we can talk about it now or at the end. But ultimately, to ask you, like, to the extent, do you see the necessary skills required for Fields to evolve into an effective passer?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the arm strength. I mean, he is accurate. I think it's just going to be. It's a new system. He changed coordinators, so it's new learning for him, which obviously slows somebody down a little. Mm-hmm. I think getting some better weapons and getting some time. And I think too, when you're getting hit, that starts to get in your head of, do I really have time? You got this clock that's different than what it really is. Mm-hmm. So I think just trusting the line and getting some pieces that can create some separation. It was something I saw in other games too, is the receivers weren't creating a ton of separation. Like the throw had to be perfect. So here's a good play that I wanted to add. So this is 3rd and 8 on the 28. So again, talked about Hurts a lot in the Eagles. What did they do a ton? Went for it on 4th down. And when you do that, you can run the ball on 3rd and 8, so you got a great quarterback who can run it. 3rd and 8, you run the ball. If you get stuff short, you go for it on 4th down. Here he ends up getting it anyways.
So we have motion. We know it's man.
So, and then Fields outside to his right with a great run. Man, folks, that's fun to watch.
The DN crashes.
So once, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
And like you said, Jack, the motion, right? They did have a screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if the guy didn't go with them in motion, they would have had numbers 3-on-2. So that's kind of an RPO. He could have thrown it there. It's not. So let's just read the DN, arc the tight end. He crashes, breaks a tackle again, just big. I mean, you see him run over DNs, break those tackles, those arm tackles.
Let's say, is that Parsons? I mean, their defense obviously is really talented.
Right.
I'm not sure. But I mean, because that's a tough call right there, because the DN doesn't necessarily commit fully to the run. And Mike, for a quarterback, that's it is a flash second decision to have to make. Right. And it's not an easy decision to have to make. Sometimes it looks real obvious, like the previous RPO where he kept and ran, but that one's gray.
Yeah. That's a great point. So for us, we always say gray is a give. If you're unsure, give it to the downhill runner, because he's going to get positive yards. If it's gray and you pull it and you get stuck in the backfield, that's a negative play. You're behind the chains, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you also don't want to overcoach a guy like Fields. If he's got an instinct, I mean, he does things like that.
That's what I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking, like difference between telling a high school kid grade give and then Fields in the background.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yep, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, we had an athletic quarterback too.
Yeah.
And there'd be times where I'd be like, hey, challenge the guy. You're so darn athletic. And so you let him be more aggressive.
Yeah.
And they learn, like, you pull it, you get stuffed. Okay, well, later in the game, gray does become a give now.
Great point.
So big picture stuff. Where do you see this offense kind of progressing to next season? Obviously with no free agency, no draft picks yet, and it's kind of hard to tell, how they're going to take advantage of some of these incoming players that we know are going to be here. But just from scheming wise, like, what do you see as like the next step for this offense?
Yeah, I mean, just watching the games that I watch, I think where they're efficient, like I said, is when they get the run game going and they play action off of it. You got those nakeds where you get them on the move. You get the hard play action where you're max protecting and you got, you know, 2-man routes, those types of things where I think he's got a huge arm. Again, it's just, we need some receivers, right, that can make those double moves, get some separation. You know, obviously the quarterback run game and the RPOs off of it are high percentage things that I think they can get really good at. And you can see that they're already good at that. And I think he's just got to develop kind of in that 5-step where it takes a little more time, more progressions, more learning, recognizing the defense. But I think that's going to come with time in the system. You know, again, new coordinator, a lot of learning. These NFL playbooks are huge. And you look at quarterbacks who have done well early on, right? They've had consistency with their coach. I mean, Tom Brady, one of the greatest, right? But he had the same coordinator like his whole career. Like, think about how good you can get if you're going through the same thing over and over, you know, versus a guy. Some of these highly touted guys, they go through 3 or 4 coordinators because they get drafted on a losing team who's not very good, and then they go through these coaches and they can never learn and get the reps and really master anything. So I think just continuity is going to be better for him. Obviously, getting some weapons, protecting him a little more. You know, the defense taking some pressure off him. When you got a great defense, your offense becomes a lot better. You get shorter fields, stuff like that. So I think it all comes together.
Well, that was interesting that you say that, because as I'm rewatching this game, just going, oh, the defense gave up another touchdown. The defense gave up another touchdown. There's just several times this season where if the defense would have played okay, I mean, the way that they were putting up nearly 30 points on a regular basis, it was really odd as a Bears fan, because you're not used to seeing your offense score points and your defense give up so many points. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was 17 of 23 in this game for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he had 6 incompletions. He ran the ball for 60 yards. Like, he had a great game, but like you said, you know, you got to be able to get some stops too on the other side.
It makes me wonder, and this might be confirmation bias, so you know, this is where it's good for us to hear from you, but I think to myself, going back to your previous point about establishing a run game and then play action off of it, if you've got the best rushing offense in the league and cannot develop a passing game that is NFL worthy, to me, like, that, isn't that just highlighting the inadequacy of the skill position players in the offensive line and or Luke Getsy? I don't know. Or maybe Justin Fields, for those people that are critical of him. Because how can you be so poor at throwing the ball when you have established such an incredibly good running game?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at Brock Purdy, right? I mean, they can run the ball and they got some weapons, and now your 4th-string quarterback looks pretty good when he, you know, hard play action. He's got guys getting open. So I think that illustrates your point. You got to get the run game going. But the run game, too, also just can't be dependent on the quarterback as well. I think their run game opens up because they got to respect Fields. So that's a huge weapon to have. Like, when you got to honor him, like we saw that pin and pull run to the outside. We saw the zone reads. Like, that's a lot to prepare for. And you look at the Eagles run game, I think that's why they had so much success, because you got to respect everybody. So that as a defense, that's got to be a pain of, how are we going to stop Fields? That's got to be a question, right? In the run game, how are we going to stop the run game? There's so many things. So, I mean, to me, I think it's exciting, right? I mean, you get these draft picks and you got this dude at quarterback that can do so many different things. And, you know, I think the only way's up, right?
So, I mean, that kind of answers my last question here for you, Fitz, is what would you say to Bears fans that are nervous about his lack of production in the pass game going forward?
I mean, just as a play caller myself, when you have a quarterback, coaches aren't perfect, right? If I have a quarterback, when I call a bad play and he turns it into a positive play, and like Fields does a spectacular play, I mean, man, that is such a weapon to have. And the way you can use them, like I said, in those situations, when it's short yardage, when you're in the red zone, like, those things are those are intangibles that you have that are going to make your offense better. Like, he's going to develop as a passer. He's got the arm strength. He's got, you know, the tools to do it. I mean, you look at Ohio State when he had the weapons, like, he can sling it, you know, he can get it done. I think he just got to build it around him. And I think he's just going to get better when it's not solely focused on him. I mean, I think defenses now are completely committed to stopping him. You know, imagine when they have to start thinking about some other things, you know, even in this Cowboys tape, right? How much time we basically saw one high defenses man-to-man pretty much that whole tape. because I don't think they're really concerned about stopping the pass. They're loading the box to stop the run and stop Fields. And again, if you don't have receivers who can separate versus man, then teams can do that.
I don't know what to say other than thank you, Jack. I don't know if there's any other questions that you want to get out there, because Fitz, okay, peeling back the curtain for everybody that's out there, he had to watch all this film. He had to break down all this film, and he's doing it here live for us too. So like, thank you. Thank your wife for us for giving so much of your time to the Bear Down Chicago podcast, man. Thank you.
No, this was fun. I appreciate you giving this a try. I know this was first time for you, so hopefully it turns out great. People like it, and we'll have to do it again.
I mean, I was enamored the entire time. So Fitz, you have a standing invitation anytime you want to come back.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.
So fun. Thanks, Coach. We really appreciate it.
Last thing before you get out, we just want to say best of luck to the York Dukes next season. We will be cheering you on during the podcast throughout the season, and I'm going to try to make it out to at least three games next season. Got to make it out to 2 last year, so just pulling for you guys big time.
Appreciate it. We're working hard every day. We're trying to get better, so we're excited.
Mike Fitzgerald, head coach of the York High School Dukes in Elmhurst, Illinois. Just a phenomenal guest. Fitz, thank you so much, buddy. Wow. Dude, Jack. Okay, I know, like, for you, like, that had to scratch an itch just a little bit, right? Because it's been a while since you've been
yeah, selfishly it does. I don't know the extent to which, fans enjoy that. I think it's different for every fan. Every fan follows and watches the game in their own way. And that's the beauty of it. There's a place for everybody to be a fan in their own way. That's how I love to be a fan. I mean, that and to play and to coach. I don't know. I mean, I hope some people will watch it and they'll love it. Michael Gus will watch it and will love it, right? And there'll be some other, coaches that we have, and I think some fans of the team that love that type of analysis, and they're going to geek out right along with us. But if you're looking for answers and you want specifics about why things don't work or why things do work, and you want some tangible evidence about Justin Fields going forward, then you've got it if you watch this. But if you'd rather just kind of talk like abstractly about whether or not the guy can play, or whether he wants to play in a dome, or whether or not he's this or that, then sure, you can hash that out all you want. But I would much rather talk about this 24/7, 7 days a week. This to me makes it real. It just makes it real.
I always feel like I know a lot about football, and then I sit and talk with Fitz and just go, oh, I don't know anything about anything of what's going on. I feel like what I really enjoy about the game is still having a lot of things to learn. And that was a master class in terms of just like breaking down film. I know he can't do it because of the time commitment, but it just if we could have him on a semi-regular basis, I would kill for it. He's so freaking good at what he does. And it's no shock to me just knowing the type of guy that he is, that York had the season that they had. I just know he's meticulous in every single thing that he does. He lives and breathes football, and those kids are so lucky to have him, and we're lucky to have him on the show.
Absolutely. Anytime someone takes a program, a public school program in the suburbs and turns it like he turned York, it's hard to fully state the Herculean effort that it takes to do that in as competitive of a field it is in our area specifically. Now, we're not Texas or some of the other southern schools where they play year round, but when it comes to local Illinois high school, it cannot be overly stated to suggest the ways in which what he did specifically for that program to turn it to a winning program, a game away from winning a state, being in the state finals. Impressive, to put it mildly.
I'm so thankful that we had him on. All right. So Jack, I mean, I know that we have shout outs that we can give collectively, unless there's one or two that you want to give. I know the ones that would.
Go ahead.
So collectively, that has to go out to Patrick Sheldon, Brendan Shagrew, and Logan Bradley. I know they wanted to be here, but they had other things going on, and I know they're going to geek out over this episode. So all of those guys at the Bear Down Chicago podcast. Now, I'm also a little worried too, because I know that we've been having trouble when I'm hitting the outro music. So hopefully I'm going to go ahead and let's just keep your fingers crossed that there's no...
Don't put Ryan in the corner outro music.
All right, so folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us, for listening, for streaming, finding a friend, sharing this out with whoever might be out there. Thank you so much. And as always, folks, bear down, Chicago.